This is my lecture series on U.S. government, U.S. history. This will be the Bill of Rights, or as my students call it, How to Get Away with Murder. I subtitled it that because usually by the time we get to the Fourth Amendment, the kids are saying, Mister, this seems more like how we can get away with crimes than what our rights are. Well, essentially your rights are there so you can do whatever you want and be protected. Not necessarily commit crimes because that's illegal, but it seems that way in some cases. So we'll jump right into it. This will only be the First through Fifth Amendments. 6 through 10 will be later on. First Amendment says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Oh my gosh, that's a lot. What does it mean? Well, let's take it chunk by chunk. Let's start with freedom of speech. As an American citizen, you have the right to say whatever you want. You can say anything, literally anything, as long as it doesn't libel somebody, which is a lie about somebody that's public. And other than that, you can say anything you want, anytime you want, but use caution. Because if you're walking around swearing downtown for no reason, people are going to think you're a little crazy. They might detain you to make sure you're not doing nothing crazy. And don't walk around saying racial slurs, because there will be consequences like getting the tar beat out of you if you do that. So say whatever you want, but just be careful with the consequences that come with that. Kind of reminds me of that Spider-Man movie where they said with great power comes great responsibility. Well, with freedom of the speech comes a great responsibility as well. Freedom of religion. As an American, you have the right to practice any religion you want. You can even start your own religion. Or you don't have to practice a religion. As an American, we don't force you to practice any religion you want, or you can practice whatever you want. Some people don't, some people do. In fact, if I remember if I remember right, in the 2010 census, 3% of Americans were claiming to be Jedi, and the federal government may have to recognize Jedi as an official religion at some point. So, as an American, you can practice or not at your discretion. Freedom of the press. Now, this is important because in other countries, especially at the time of the founding of our country, newspapers couldn't print certain things. The press is separate from our government for a reason. If the government does whatever it wants, the press will report it. But if the papers are owned by the government, they're just going to tell you what all good things the government is doing. If you don't believe that, take a look at Nazi Germany in the 30s. Now, the papers cannot knowingly slander or libel somebody. That means they can't knowingly print damaging things. They can't hurt public officials. They can't sit there and say that so-and-so is an a-hole. They just can't do that. If they do, they have to print an apology, and usually you can sue them and get some monetary for it. But freedom of the press is extremely important. A free press is how people spread knowledge and get knowledge to and from people. The right to peaceably assemble. This is a peaceful assembly around the mirror pool in front of the Washington Monument. The reflecting pool, excuse me. Peaceably assemble means that we can get together and we can talk about whatever we want. We can rally, we can parade, we can do all kinds of wonderful things in this country. When they shut it down, though, is when it gets violent. When you start throwing rocks at people and punching people in the face, the police are going to come in there and bust it up. And then when they do, don't get mad at them for doing their jobs. They're just trying to protect everybody else who was there to peaceably assemble. And all it usually takes is one or two knuckleheads coming in and busting up a rally, and then all of a sudden there's a police riot in riot gear, and it's on the 5 o'clock news. I forgot to move that one, but petition the government. What is a redress? A redress is an issue that you or somebody you know may be having, and you want to get it fixed. So say that there's a pothole down Main Street on your road and you want the government to fix it and they're refusing to. Well, you can petition your state congressman, you can petition your U.S. congressman or your senators even, Have everybody in your neighborhood sign a petition, send it off to them, and maybe they'll deal with it. That is a right that we have that most people don't even realize. Now, the Second Amendment is a hotly contested amendment. It is possibly the most argued and sued about in American history. The wording is a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. What does all that mean? Well, the military at the time of the founding of our country was pretty much any able-bodied man who could carry a rifle. That was the military, the militia at the time, to protect their own towns, protect their colonies, and later on states. Today, our militia is essentially our National Guard. Each state has one. Now, that's not so much a problem. The problem coming in is the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's where people start to like to argue. Why do we need guns? This is an old amendment. Well, I have a gun. I'm not giving it up. You know, I should be able to buy an AK-47 if I want to. Those sorts of things are usually what happens with the arguments. So, well-regulated militias, the National Guard, keep and bear arms, states, but the states are able to regulate who can own what. So each state is able to determine who can own a gun, what types of gun can own what, all other things that go along with that. So that covers permits. Do people need to have a permit in some states? California makes you, Arizona does not. Register your gun. Do you have to register your gun in your state? Arizona makes you. Private gun sales. I can sell my guns or buy my guns from a private party in Arizona. What's it like where you live? Gun locks. Some states require you to have a gun lock or keep it in a gun safe. Arizona does not. Concealed carry permits. Arizona used to be a concealed carry permit state where you could train through a class and get a permit to carry a concealed weapon. A few years back, they repealed that law, and Arizona, you can carry a concealed weapon anytime you want now. Magazine capacity. Almost every state has a magazine capacity. It's pretty much as big as the stock of the weapon, so if the clip extends past where the handle is, that would be an illegal magazine in the state of Arizona. Gun shows, most states allow these. Arizona has one that happens twice a year at the Arizona Fairgrounds. The Third Amendment. No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. This is an older amendment that I don't really think is used anymore, because we have military bases today. Most soldiers are housed not in our homes, but on military bases. We pay taxes to cover them for that. So this is an older amendment. It doesn't really in effect, and it probably never will be in effect again, short of an all-out invasion on our country. The Fourth Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. What does all that mean? It means a lot. It means police just can't come into your stuff and start searching. This protects against illegal searches and seizures. The government has no jurisdiction to search your property. I'll break it down for you since the picture's in the way. The police just can't come in your home unless you let them in. If you open the door and say, sure, come on all in, and then you got a pound of cocaine sitting on your dining room table, well, that's your bad. You shouldn't have let them in. If you're doing something illegal, don't let the police in, obviously. Now, when they have a search warrant, you have to let them in. And if you don't, they will arrest you. But here's the thing about search warrants. Well, I'll get back to that. The Fourth Amendment protects people, not places, meaning your home is not protected against stuff. Reasonable expectation of privacy, like hotel rooms, you might be able to be private in there, but remember, you're renting a hotel. Blah, blah, blah. Not private. Bank records, phone records. I really wish these pictures had been behind. Let's see. Probable cause. If a policeman sees you doing something illegal, yeah, they're going to stop you. If they stop you for a traffic violation and they ask you to pop your trunk, do you think you have to? No, you do not. You do not have to open your trunk. Now, if they see a weapon sitting on the passenger seat, they will ask you to step out of the car, and then they'll secure everything. And then they still don't have the right to go in your trunk because it's not in plain sight. So a warrant is a sworn statement by a police officer or a person of the court. It is a legal document allowing a search of private stuff. So it is a sworn statement. It'll say specifically what they're allowed to search, what they're looking for, and it will be signed by a magistrate or a judge. If they see something that is not on the warrant, that is illegal. You do not need to be warrant. They do not have to have a warrant for your arrest, especially if they see you with probable cause that a crime has been committed, like you're running out of a bank wearing a mask, or if there's probable cause a crime is going to be committed, like you're going into a bank wearing a mask. Valid searches. Infrared cameras? Absolutely. Random drug testing at school? Not so much. Being arrested? If you're arrested, they will search everything on you. If you have a house party going on, the police walk right in, all of a sudden everybody's in trouble because there's underage drinking going on? Very likely. Your car is a valid search with the exception of your trunk. Roadblocks. They will set up random roadblocks, especially around holidays. And the Fifth Amendment. Ugh, look at all that. No person, oh, blah, blah, blah. Let's just get down to the nuts and bolts of it. Oof. Well, double jeopardy of it. The double jeopardy clause is, let's go back here. Double jeopardy is right twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. So there's the double jeopardy right there. Any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. There you go. That is why OJ will never be tried for murder and convicted of, well, at least of Ronald Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson, because he was already found acquitted of it. Now, he could be tried again in the civil court, which he did lose, and he owes the Goldman family pretty much everything but his life, or in the case of a mistrial or an appeal of the original trial. Self-incrimination. Under the Fifth Amendment, you have the right to not testify against yourself, which is why usually you'll see somebody who's convicted of crime on their own stand saying, my attorney is telling me to plead the Fifth. You do not have to give evidence against yourself. By the way, that does not extend to your spouse. Your spouse does have to testify against you if compelled to, and if they lie, they get charged with perjury. Exemptions, fingerprints, voice sample, appearance in a lineup, name and address, the bullets removed, hair samples, blah, blah. Miranda versus Arizona is where we get the Miranda warning, where you have the right to remain silent. If you give up that right, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney, to have an attorney present during a question. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided to you at no cost. Do you understand these rights? Have I read them to you? If you're about to be arrested, a police officer will read this or something very similar because of this man. In 1963, he was arrested for kidnapping. He was convicted and appealed, and it went to the Supreme Court. This is Miranda versus Arizona. They ruled that he did not have an attorney present and was not made aware of that he did not have to testify against himself, or not be made aware that he did not have to give the police evidence against himself. Therefore, his case was tossed out. Yeah, okay, so here's the best advice I can give you. If you are ever being interviewed by the police, the first thing and the last thing and the only thing you should ever say is, lawyer. I want my lawyer. Get me my lawyer right now. They have to stop questioning you and give you a lawyer. If they keep questioning you, anything you tell them after that can't be used in a trial. Exercising your right to your silence. You cannot be penalized for not saying anything. And you're good to go. Just say lawyer. We don't care about that. All right, so we'll be doing Amendments 6 through 10 very soon, and I hope you enjoyed this. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to update this and have a wonderful time doing it.